Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening around the world. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Blackjack. Today, as always, I'll be doing a YouTube comment section deck tech for you guys. If you're interested in having me put a deck together for you or help you tweak a current deck list, I'm looking for any of the 5 following metrics in the comment section: a bracket, a budget, a theme, a commander, and any pet cards you have. Today, we have a request from the user mathguy, who is looking for a high-powered, all-gas, no-brakes Aesi deck. So that is exactly what I built for you. We are looking at Aesi Tyrant of the Gyre Strait, 4 colorless, a green and a blue, so Simic 5/5. You may play an additional land on each of your turns, and it has landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, you may draw a card. This is already an incredibly powerful commander, very easy to build around, very easy to make strong. So I was kind of given free reign to take it in any direction I wanted to. Obviously, just based off what I like, I went for a lot of lands and a lot of big stuff. We start at the Planeswalker section. All we have is Oko, probably the strongest Planeswalker ever printed, bar none. Can turn people's commanders into 3/3 elks without actually removing them from the board, so they can't just recast them. It can exchange control. It can create a food. Nobody cares about that part. But this card does it all. It's a must-answer permanent. Creatures. Ancient Green Warden allows you to play your lands from the graveyard and then doubles all of your land ETB triggers. So Aesi will be drawing you 2 cards. Courser will be gaining you 2 life. Avenger will be getting you 2 counters. So on and so forth. Avenger, always a good win con in decks like these, big mana decks where we can just make a truckload of plants and then pump them up. Another must answer permanent, and I'm going to say that a lot throughout this video. A lot of these cards are pretty much, when they hit the battlefield, they have to be dealt with, or you are just going to be put so far ahead of the table, it's going to just be obnoxious to deal with later on. Azusa for extra land drops. Courser, not really extra land drops, but kind of helps you sift through the top of your library and gain some life. Dryads, extra drops for lands. Eternal Witness lets you buy back anything. Ice Till, more land drops. Coma, one of the scariest creatures to see come down in the Commander format. It's extremely oppressive once it hits the battlefield. It can kind of completely warp the game around itself and control everything going on. Another absolute must-answer threat. Loot is extra land drops. Lotus Cobra will help you really ramp up with all of your fetch lands. Nissa is pretty cool. So extra lands, not extra lands, but landfall, whenever a land enters, you can add a mana, and then if it's the second time it happened, which should be extremely often, if not every turn, you get to go through your library until you hit an elf or an elemental. So you could be hitting things like Green Warden, Avenger, you can hit Oracle, you can hit... looks like that's it. But when it comes to a deck like this, you don't need much. Being able to hit any of these permanents, I mean, there's some of the best cards in your deck, so you're happy to. So another instance where when this hits the battlefield, it may look innocuous, but this will help you take over a game quickly. Oracle Moldiah, already mentioned, one of the best cards in the deck. Play additional lands. You can play lands from the top. Just lets you get through your library very quickly, lets you get way ahead of the table, puts you very ahead of schedule. Rampaging Baloths is basically a different take of Avenger Zendikar. Ramanap lets you play lands from graveyard. Sakura Tribuilder is the first of many ramp pieces in this deck, which we will get to. Scoot Swarm, Army in a Can. Seedborn Muse, allowing you to tap out for one of these giant beating monsters or one of these extra land drop permanents and then still untap and hold up interaction, is a great way to stabilize and maintain control. Tatiova, whenever a land enters, you gain a life and draw a card. Traveling Chocobo for land drops. Uro, land drops and life gain and card draw. It's everything this deck wants to be doing. And Sword Tooth for land drops. Sorceries, so a lot more ramp. Look at Cultivate, Kodama's Reach, Nature's Lore, Rampant Growth, and 3 visits. Sylvan Scrying doesn't actually ramp you, but it allows you to find any land card you want, and this is going to be a land-centric deck. So there's going to be times where you look for the Dark Depths Thespian stage combo. There's also going to be times where you look for Alchemist Refuge, so you can just operate at flash speed. There's a lot of good utility lands in here we'll go over a little later. Kind of along the same line, Scape Shift will allow us to bin all of our lands, and we have a lot of permanents that let us play lands out of the graveyard. And then when we go to get any land we want, we can go get like Field of the Dead and Alchemist Refuge, and just go get a bunch of really great utility lands, make a bunch of zombies, and get way ahead. Whelming Wave, one of those cards that's not particularly interesting in most decks, but is an all-star here. Basically, if all you have going on is Aesi, or if you're early in the game, it's going to bounce almost everything, and even if you do have Aesi going, Aesi gets to stay. Instance, so weaponizing our lands, Constant Mists is an amazing way to do that. You basically get to just prevent combat damage by sacrificing a land. Since we have a lot of ways to play lands out of the graveyard, once you have this engine going, it's going to be very hard for people to actually take you out of the game. Counterspell, Mana Drain, Fierce Guardianship, Heroic Intervention, these are all kind of serving the same purpose of protecting your board. Obviously, when it comes to Counterspell and Mana Drain, you really only want to use these if someone's going to try to win the game or you're going to try to win the game. Mana Drain, there is a caveat of if you can counter a high spell card early on to get Aesi out on like turn 3, obviously do that. But if not, this is all just to protect what you have going on. Crop Rotation, more of the same. Go find any land you want. Cyclonic Rift, incredible card. Bounce everything at instant speed. There's a reason that people consider this essentially like the bane of their existence in Commander. I only play it personally, I think, in one Commander deck, and it's CDH. This is a card that I don't like seeing at casual tables, but when you're looking for bracket 4, bracket 5, this is a necessity. Artifacts, to round out the ramp package, you're looking at Arcane Signet, Felwar Stone, and Soul Rain. So we do have 10 dedicated pieces, but then we obviously have a bevy of other things that allow us to access more land drops on our turn. Conduit of Worlds and Crucible of Worlds share the same purpose, allowing you to get those cards out of your graveyard that you've been weaponizing with Constant Mists, or you sacrificed to Scape Shift or things like that. Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots, being able to protect our giant monsters is important, and is kind of sharing the same purpose and in the same realm as the Heroic Intervention counterspell type of suite we have. Enchantments, we have Burgeoning, allows you to get out ahead with lands. Case of the Locked Hothouse is extra land drops, as well as Druid Class, Exploration, Glacierwood Siege, Spelunking. All of this is allowing us to play extra lands and constantly stay ahead of the table and ahead of curve. Garruk's Uprising is going to be quality card draw in a deck like this. A lot of the stuff we're doing is going to be with creatures power 4 or greater. So not only giving them trample, but also getting card draw out of them is going to be good for us. Kenrith's Transformation, probably the best removal spell in the format right now. Shares the same purpose as Oko. So the reason I say it's really good is, unlike Swords and Path and Wrath of God, Damnation, these effects all put people's commanders back in the command zone where they can recast them. Transformation keeps it on the battlefield and turns it into an elk. So as long as you're willing to take the 3 damage as they're trying to swing it in and get it killed so it can go back to the command zone, it's going to just stay out there and be useless forever. Sylvan Library, one of the better card draw in green. On the trail, whenever you draw your second card each turn, you can ramp. You're going to be doing this hand in hand with Aesi. Rhystic Study, again, when you're looking at that bracket 4 or 5 higher power mark, You're going to need to play cards like this to consistently be ahead of the table. Trade routes is an interesting one that doesn't see play very often. You can pay 1 to return a land you control to its owner's hand. You can pay 1 to discard a land to draw a card. So this is going to guarantee you getting extra land drops. This is going to guarantee you getting usage out of your Excavator, your Crucible World, your Conduit of Worlds, and it's going to give you card draw. Walk-in Closet, basically the exact same thing as Crucible of Worlds. And then finally, Wilderness Reclamation, another instance of allowing us to tap out on our turn, but then still hold up interaction and be doing other things on other people's turns. The land package, so we are playing 40 lands. Most notably, you're looking at Alchemist's Refuge. If you've never played Simic, you've never played this card, highly recommend you give it a try. It's incredibly powerful and allows you to do some very broken things. Beseiju, being able to buy this back out of the graveyard, being able to weaponize this to deal with permanents on the board is going to be good for us. Dark Depths, as well as Thespian Stage for obvious reasons. Making 2020 indestructible flyers over and over again will eventually get the job done. Field of the Dead is another awesome way to weaponize your land drops and turn everything into a creature that you're doing. Ghost Town is a cool one. Used to be in the 7-mana Omnath commander decks of old. But essentially you can pay 0 to bounce it back to your hand and then play it again. So even if you don't have a land in your hand to activate Aesi's ability, you can always bounce Ghost Town back and at least get 1 more land drop out. Glacial Chasm, maybe there's going to be a time where your board gets wiped and then people start targeting you because you're 12 lands ahead of everybody else on the table, which is going to be fairly consistently. And you are going to have to get this out to buy yourself some time, and you can always sacrifice it to dodge the cumulative upkeep and then still continue to get it out with things like Crucible of Worlds. So this is a really, really effective way of making sure you stay safe alongside Constant Mists. Mistrise Village, making stuff uncounterable. Mosswort Bridge, allowing you to play stuff for free. Otawara, bouncing stuff and then getting it back, kind of like Beseiju. We also have Strip Mine and Wasteland. I don't recommend this for lower power tables, but again, when you're talking bracket 4, bracket 5, where people are also going to be utilizing very powerful lands, things like Gaia's Cradle, these are going to be good ways of keeping those contained. And if you want to be a scumbag, maybe you can just cut somebody off their colors and make them have a really bad time. Yavimaya Cradle of Growth is probably the last notable one, just giving you access to green with all of your lands, even allowing you to tap things like Dark Depths for mana when it normally can't. Overall, this deck is incredibly powerful. I love playing landfall decks. This is going to be a really good time when you're playing it. You're always going to be the bad guy at the table, but the caveat is you're always going to be 10 lands ahead of everybody else. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you give it a try. Let me know how it goes. As always, Godspeed.